Well, hello everybody This is Matt over at SFREP. I'm glad you could join me today for this webinar on one of the third-party kind of add-on programs that I think a lot of people don't know about, but really should. And that is Profet.ai by PropMix. And now it is one of those programs that kind of has one of those names that is hard to spell because it's Profet.ai. But, everything has already been named at this point, so they have to choose unique names. And so that was what they chose to do it. Now, it used to be called PropMix, but then PropMix kind of changed the branding to PropMix being the company, and then Profet.ai being one of the main programs that they offer. And that is what we offer. Now, Profet.ai is this really cool program that will give you a backdoor into both your local MLS and your county records, your local county records. You'll be able to get information about various addresses from Profet.ai, from that backdoor access. And then it'll actually show you what county records has and what the MLS has, and then you can reconcile those to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. The other thing it'll help you do is choosing your comps and listings. It's really good at doing that. It's some great algorithm. One of the cool things that it does is it will bring over photos and it will show everything on a map for you. It's a really cool program. Now, if you've never done one of these webinars with us before, a couple of things real quick about YouTube, if you're not familiar with YouTube. Down in the bottom, on the bottom row, there will be a bracket, looks like two brackets next to each other. That's to make the video go full screen. Now, that will make everything a lot easier to see, but the big problem with that is that you will not have the chat available to you. So just keep that in mind. The other thing you can do is you can use the elongated rectangle. That elongated rectangle, when you click on it, will put YouTube into theater mode, which will give you a bigger screen to be able to view the video on, and it will move the chat from the right-hand side down to the bottom. So also keep that in mind. Now, what we're going to do for this webinar is I'm actually going to replay a webinar that we did back in last year. And the reason for that is because we were able to get one of the people from PropMix to actually demo Profet.ai for us. So we're going to go ahead and we'll roll that video. If you have any questions during that, you can use the chat, or of course you can always just use our email address, training@sfrep.com. Or if you need assistance on Profet.ai or any of our other programs and you need help immediately, you may want to use tech@sfrep.com. Or, of course, you can call them toll-free 800-644-4051. So just keep all that in mind. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So sit back and relax. I believe this is about 52 minutes long. And if you need to leave and you want to come back, you can always use the link that was in the email that was sent to you, or the link that's on Facebook. That will take you back to this video. You can always watch the archive of it anytime. All right. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll catch you on the backside. Well, welcome everybody. We are really happy that you could join us here on a, gosh, is it Wednesday? I think it's a Wednesday afternoon. You know, when you work from home, you kind of start forgetting which day it is. I'm glad you could join us. We are going to be talking about Profet.ai from the folks over at PropMix. And I'll introduce Daniel here in just a minute, Daniel Mancino. And he is the Vice President of Data Solutions over at Profet.ai and at PropMix. And actually, let's see here. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this. So one thing I want everyone to know is that everyone who is using Appraise-It Pro, and if you're not using Appraise-It Pro, then you are able to move over to Appraise-It Pro at no cost. You can go ahead and get Appraise-It Pro installed. But if you are currently using Appraise-It Pro, then everyone has 5 free lookups for Profet.ai. So everything you see here today, you will be able to, when you get off this webinar, go ahead and use in your next appraisal. And if you want to get more information on pricing and everything, you can talk to our sales department. I think everybody knows the number, but it's 800-523-0872. That's 523-0872. I'll add that into the chat here in just a minute. And I've also put into the chat a link so that you can go and get more information on Profet.ai. The cool thing about Profet.ai, and that's spelled Profet.ai, is also a web link. So you can just type that into your web browser and get some more information on the product. So essentially what Profet.ai does, and you're going to see this here in a minute, does a couple of things, but the thing that I love about it the most is it gives you a really nice, easy to use graphical interface for both choosing and reconciling differences between your own MLS, because they have a backdoor into your own MLS, and your county records. So in addition to helping you do all of that, it will bring all of that information into Appraise-It Pro. And the cool thing is that unlike a lot of other products, it's going to bring over the photos as well. It's also going to help you in filling out your 1004 MC. So what I'm going to do is I am going to turn things over here to Daniel, and we're going to make him the presenter. And he is going to kind of go over everything that you need to know with Profet.ai and show you exactly how it can really aid you in filling out information. And I just remembered from his background, Daniel, you are up in New York. I don't think you're in New York City, but you're up in New York State, correct?
Well, no, I'm actually in New Jersey, Freehold, New
That's
Jersey.
right.
So
That's right.
if anybody's a Springsteen fan, I live in his town, the town that he grew up in. And,
what town is that?
Actually, Freehold.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Actually, he still lives in the area. He lives one town over from me.
So
I've been here for nearly 30 years, and I have never once run into him, although everyone I know has.
He's not somebody that you run into at the grocery store.
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of people do.
All right.
They either run into him at the ice cream shop or in the mall. So I hear it all the time, but just not me.
A man of the people. Well, Go ahead and take it away, Daniel. We really appreciate you doing this for us.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Matt, and thank you to SFREP for the opportunity to present Profit. And we're honored to be one of the services that are included and embedded in Appraise-It Pro. I know that there's a lot of options for you all as appraisers, and also for Appraise-It Pro to incorporate into the application. So we here at Profit, actually PropMix.io is the name of the company. Profit is our flagship product. Again, we're honored to be part of the Appraise-It Pro family of products and services, I guess you would say. So what is Profit, and who are we at PropMix? PropMix has been around about 6.5 years or so. A bunch of technology and industry data and industry professionals. I've been around the industry for 38 years. It's hard to even say those words, but yeah, I started in the industry in '84. And just about everybody else that's with us, and from a management standpoint, has been in the industry for 15 to 20 years or more, whether it be in collecting public record data or working with the MLS data. And then, of course, the technology people are the technology experts dating back to the 90s, mid 90s, early 90s. So we're all about technology and data. And this product, Profet.ai, has been built with a lot of assistance and a lot of input from your peers, appraisers, appraisal management companies, appraisal software companies. So it's not just something that we came up with. It's actually a product that we built with the appraiser in mind. I personally am not an appraiser, but as I mentioned, all of the input that we've gotten to build the product is coming from the industry itself. So you'll notice here that we indicate Profit as a platform for all of your valuation and analysis needs. We've built this application to work end to end for just about any kind of appraisal or valuation solutions. So whether it be a traditional appraisal, which is what I'm going to show you today, Or if you were using our application for hybrids or bifurcated appraisals, desktop appraisals, we work with a couple of inspection companies that have applications that we can draw the inspection information, the full condition addendum could be pulled right into our application and then delivered as part of a full-blown valuation solution or a full-blown evaluation report. We also offer a one-click complexity report that is not in any way intended to take away from the appraiser's ability to identify how complex or how risky a property may be. It's just a tool. So what we could do is very easily show you how your subject property compares to the market and the available comps. In most cases, we find that the data that is changing the complexity on a property is oftentimes data errors, which gives this application actually gives you an easy way to correct that. And we also offer the ability for appraisal reviews because as your appraisers are working on appraisals through the application, if there is a senior reviewer that maybe has the ability to look into all of the appraisals that are being done for the AMC or for the lender or for the appraisal company, we've got a dashboard that the manager has that opportunity to review any of the work that's being done by the appraiser themselves. And then we've got other tools where we could actually use OCR to review a PDF of an appraisal and pull the data out, present solutions to either make that appraisal a little bit more refined. If there's any errors in there, comps that maybe could have been used that were not used. So there's a lot of tools that we've got available. So Profet.ai is, again, it's your one platform for all of your appraisal, evaluation, and I'd say analytics needs. It's trusted by lenders. We've got quite a few lenders that are customers of ours. AMCs, we've got at least a half a dozen AMCs that are using our application as their primary data solution. We also have technology companies and as I mentioned, inspection applications that are using us. And the benefit here is if you're a member of multiple MLSs, this is the truest benefit that the application provides. If you're a member of multiple MLSs, I've seen the process many, many times in the past where an appraiser has to go to multiple MLSs to download their data files, upload them into an application, and then run their analytics from the application, and then take that data and then load it into their appraisal form. Profit allows you to do all that from within the application. So if you're a member of multiple MLSs, the data is already stored on our servers. So you would essentially do the exact same search that you would do on your MLS, except within Profit, pull back the exact same data that's available from that MLS or multiple MLSs. So one search will give you the ability to search across MLSs to pull in data from the MLS, public record data, you name it. You'll see here, currently this is a little bit dated. We are doing well over 100,000 appraisals a month of passing for our application. We've got probably more likely about 2,500 or so appraisers that use the application, and we've got well over 400 MLSs that we've mapped, and there's more than 350 that we're actually vendors of. And then, of course, the full nationwide public record data. So let me just touch on the vendors of for a moment. We're not using any appraiser's credentials to access data. We are actually contacting the MLS, becoming a member of that MLS as a vendor, and then providing the data solutions to the appraiser, utilizing essentially just their member ID. So we verify the member ID to make sure that they're an active member of that MLS. One of the challenges that we learned early on was that a lot of people that used the platform felt that if they were getting the MLS, they didn't need to maintain their membership with the MLS. Those are strict restrictions against the MLS's contracts. So we have to adhere to the MLS's full guidelines on how the data can be presented to the users. So with a lot of words, a lot of long-winded explanations, that's not why you're here. You're here to understand how Appraise-It Pro could actually ingest all of that data that I talk about into the application for you. So you'll notice here, I've entered a property. I mentioned I live in Freehold, New Jersey. This is a house around the corner from my house. George Costanza is not the owner of that house, but it's a name that just popped into my head. You'll notice I've only entered the address into this form so far. So now from this point, I'm now going to come up to the top here, identify under the Services tab, the Profet.ai icon. We click on that. It just gives you another opportunity to verify the information that's being passed across through a single sign-on to Profet.ai. And the first page that you'll land on after all of this information is verified is actually this page here. So you're going to land on the page where you're actually going to start your search. There's actually a page in between. I had run this search a little earlier, so there's a page in between that'll give you the option of verifying the MLS data side by side with the public record data. But it's essentially everything that you'll see in this listing sheet that I show you is what you'd be verifying. So I say the listing sheet, we've created a custom listing sheet for our application because trying to emulate a listing sheet from 300 plus MLSs around the country is very difficult, especially once you finish building a listing sheet for an MLS and they change systems and they go from Flex to Paragon, you got to do it all over again. So since we've got the data, what we do is we just build a listing sheet, load all the data from the MLS right into that listing sheet, present to you the first photo. And yes, this is the first photo that was presented by the MLS because it's actually a pretty nice looking deck. And then we give you some key details right up top. So it's kind of a snapshot, what the latest list price was, what the list date was, the full remarks that came from the MLS. These would be the public remarks. The listing details, basic listing details, and whatever information we do have. If there was a change to the list price, we would have the original list price. If it was a property that was in distress, we would have the distress type. This property came pending. However, we didn't get that pending date from the MLS. And I can tell you that this house was pending within about 45 minutes of the time that it was listed. You'll notice that there's different colors in the data set here. The colors are identified as MLS, public record. If there's both MLS and public record and there's a mismatch, we present that to you. And also you have an option of entering information of your own. So in this case here, you'll see the MLS shows that there's 12 total rooms. However, public record shows 10. So you as the appraiser would have the option of saying, I want 10 to be my total room count that's going to go into my report. I'm just going to bring it back here because I want to keep the information as pure as possible. The same would apply if there was a difference in the building area or the living area, if there was a difference in what those living area values would show. So every field that you see here is matching up to to the public record. So this way you'll have both options presented to you at all times. And you will have other opportunities throughout the process to make these edits, to make these changes. One of the other interesting things, because we house the data, so you'll notice that this property is currently listed now in 2022. However, if you come down to the history section, you'll notice that we've got the deed history as well as the listing history. The listing history will give you the opportunity, provided that the data is still available from the MLS or that the images are still available from the MLS, because a lot of MLSs say once the listing's off the market, you got to purge the data or you've got to purge the images. But in this case here, you could actually present the data side by side. So you could see what did the property look like previously, what were the data points, were there any additions maybe that were added on, there's 12 rooms still, but just to give you a full picture of that property. And this could be presented on the subject as well as any of the comps. So you've got the full view of what did that property look like. And the thing that's most important to most people is the option of being able to see the prior photos. So let's just zoom in on the front of the home. There's only a few photos that are still there, but you'll see what that kitchen looked like inside. Now, if I come back into the kitchen in the most recent listing, you'll notice a very big difference in how that kitchen looks. And all the photos for the entire listing. Let's just close this out. So this is just to give you a view of the property or any of the subject or any of the comparables. Now your search criteria are pretty similar to what you would see in most MLSs. Full disclosure, we did not emulate every single search field or search option from every single MLS because it would be a laundry list way too long. So this is a generic search option page that is available for every MLS across the country. We are improving it. We will be adding additional filters and all to it in the coming months, in the coming releases. But your search options currently are by radius, polygon. If you select the polygon, you could actually select multiple polygons on a map. That's particularly helpful if you're working in an area where, let's just say Toll Brothers is building in that area. In my town, there's 5 Toll Brothers communities spread out around the whole town. So every model is the same, prices are the same. So in order to capture all of that, you'd have to put a pretty wide radius, or I can zoom out, draw my polygons around those particular neighborhoods, and only look for properties that are most similar to my subject. You could also, if you were doing a large radius, in this case here I'm only doing 2 miles, but if I wanted to limit my search to just the subject zip, you could do that as well. Your time frame filters are by the effective date or by the listing date. We've got all of the optional listing statuses available. So you can look for properties that are off market as well as those that are on market. If you look for properties that sold after a particular date or any kind of time frame, those are there for you. All of the residential property types that you'd be able to choose from. And also if you were looking for some sort of distressed property type. I typically just tell people, leave it alone. You could do your filtering on the back end once you get in. And in my market, I put a floor only because for some reason, like Monmouth County in New Jersey, there's a lot of properties that are condos that show up as single family. And there's also an adult community nearby that is built on trailers. And those are also going to come up as single families. So I don't want to bring unnecessary records into my search. So I just put a floor. You could also put a variance of however many bedrooms and bathrooms you want around your subject, or if you wanted to use the field from the public record, you can select that as well. Same would apply for percentages up and down over living area and lot size. So all of that said, let me just jump into the results. So it's pretty quick. You run your search, it'll bring back a page like this. So let me just get this out of the way. So you notice that you've got a whole bunch of options up top. So I'm going to show you everything, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I don't want to waste a lot of time showing too many features. But you'll notice in this case here for my 2-mile radius, and if you're curious about what the fields, what the filters were that we used, that's always available to you to show what the current filters are, and then you have additional filter options here. So that's always there at your fingertips. We've also got a similarity score that we put on every property. So you'll notice in this last column here, this is actually going to be moved to the left, so it's a little bit more easily to identify and to find. But we place a similarity score on every single comp that's returned. The similarity score is based on bedrooms, bathrooms, GLA, and lot size. We've had a lot of requests for additional fields, whether it be proximity or time, and those are going to be added in the near future. But those are available. In some cases, you'll find that the data that's coming from the MLS may be lacking certain fields. And in those cases, you could also choose to use the public record fields for your similarity scoring. So all you would do is just click on the public record field, and that would make the necessary changes for you. And one other thing I'll show you with the similarity is weighting. So what characteristic would you prefer to put the most weight on? Give you an example. If you were searching in Brooklyn, New York, there are no lots. So lot sizes are, the lots there are postage stamps. They're very small. So you may say, I don't want lot size to be very highly weighted. So as long as the rest of your distribution is adding up to 100%, you can say I want 47% to be on the living area. If I do that, that'll then recalculate and then reload the data. And then the similarity scoring will change. So you'll see how some of those properties, well, I didn't show you the similarity before, but to give you that idea. So I've got some properties that are 96% similar, 94, and so on. The last thing I'll show you is if this is too many or too few comps, you could always come back to modify your search at any time. It doesn't cost anything additional to redo the search. Once you're in an order, your order is active for 30 days. So you could do as much work as you want within that order for a 30-day period. So let's go back to the results. Now, the other view that you have is an option to view the properties in a tiled view. So you can see the images of the front of the homes and see how they compare to your subject. That's another option, as well as turning off the map. The map is good at showing you the proximity of the comps that I've selected. So at any point, I can select a comp from the map. I could add it to my list of comps. You'll notice here, this is the list of comps that I've already selected. I could also view from here, view the details of any one of those comps. I could also view the details by clicking on the link. And again, the same would apply if there was any listing history. You'd be able to look at the prior listing at on any one of the properties. Let's see, fair market value. Now, I will tell you the fair market value is a feature that can be disabled from anybody's account. The fair market value is just the subject's value, because we have an AVM value that we placed on every property. And then every one of these comps, all 233 comps combined, would provide you with what that fair market value would be. It's just an average of all of the comps that are returned. Now, if I select comps, this is actually making changes. You'll notice up here the sales comparison value. This is actually changing based on the comps that I've selected. So the total is 680, but I've selected 8 comps, and those 8 comps that I've selected give me a value of 754 and change. Let me see what else I've got here. So these are the comps that I've selected. We also have an option here if, for whatever reason, a comp is not returned. Maybe it's slightly outside of your radius or slightly outside of your time frame. My search was for 2 miles in 12 months. Maybe I'm familiar with a comp that was 13 months ago. Would be a perfect comp for me to add. So I could add that by entering the street address. And all I need is, at a minimum, zip code. I could search for that property. And then once it's returned, I could add it to my comp list. If it doesn't find the comp, the reason why it might not find the comp is because it might not have been a property that was listed. It might have been a property that was only available as a maybe a FSBO, or it's just a recording at the county level. So I could also click on couldn't find my comp. I can put in one Woodstock here, and it'll load in the basic information. And at this point, you would then fill in the rest of the details if you have them. So these are just, features that just make your workflow complete. So now I've got that additional comp added into the comp list. So if I save and continue, now I'm done selecting my comparables. Now it brings me to a grid where I could actually adjust my value. So we've got a recommended regression adjustment built right into the application. There's nothing etched in stone here. It's just taking as many as 100 plus comps and then running a regression model on that. If anybody wants to know what that looks like, this is what it would look like. To me, this is all Greek. I'm not a mathematician, but I know that a lot of appraisers have this down to a science. So you can use our regression values simply by clicking on Apply All, or if you wanted to overwrite anything and say this is just 100, you'll notice that every one of the values is changing. And maybe in this case here, it's only 25,000. So it's making those adjustments as you're typing. And if there's anything that we didn't come up with a regression value for, you can manually enter it here. You can actually manually enter something in here. So if you wanted to say I got $15,000 for a bathroom in the basement, that's all available. Every one of these fields can be edited, modified, and that would be for every one of the comps. Okay. One other thing I did not show you was you also have an option of actually downloading the results list. So if you did want to take this and put it into your Excel spreadsheet, the model that you may have built for the regression, you can download this, load it in. Now you've got your regression values, and then come back into the value adjustments page, and then enter your own regression values accordingly. So we're showing you how much the adjustment was for, what's the adjusted price. We're also bringing in, I'm not sure if we've added it in yet. No, we have not added it, but we do have a time adjustment available that we can make available to SFREP if they choose to make that available to their clients. So far I'm up to 703,000 is what my value for my property is. It's actually going to go for a lot more. I just know the market, but based on my comps that I've selected, that's what I've come up with to this point. So you'll see a summary of what we've come up with so far. Client name is the lender. Intended use is a refinance. Client file name. The inspector on this property was Cosmo. When was it inspected? This is all information that is optional. You don't have to enter all this data if you don't want to. But I took the liberty of entering it so you can see what would ultimately get transferred into your report. So I've got my summary. We looked at 234 properties over 2 miles. I selected seven sales and 2 that were still on the market. So this is what the average was of each of those, and this is what we come up with for the market value. Again, you've got another opportunity to come in and just verify the data on the subject. We'll also present you with a neighborhood condition section. So if you wanted to put the boundaries in, northeast, southwest, or whatever those the boundaries would be, these would get transferred into your report. What is the description of that neighborhood? Is it urban, suburban, rural, and so on? Growth is rapid. And then you can also make your selections in here. I'm not sure why. I'm going to check with my team, but these are fields that we typically automatically populate. I believe because I was making so many edits and so many changes that the system just didn't catch up to me. So this section here, all the way on down, is typically auto-populated by our algorithms. So that would be there. And then we've also got market conditions insights that we generate at a zip code level on a monthly basis. In this market today, we should probably consider making these insights daily, because the way the market is, and especially where I live, is off the charts. So all of these charts and graphs that you see here, the data points are all going to be transferred into your Appraise It Pro and translated into charts as you'll see when I get it into the report. You have another opportunity to analyze your comps. If there's any area where perhaps you've got the photos that you've taken of the comps that you want to be in your report instead of using the MLS photos, you would have this option here of uploading your own pictures into the report. So let's say we chose a different house here. And then add it. So that comp photo that I've selected will now be the first photo that would show up on this property once it gets into the report. You could add all of your comp photos right in here. We'll also bring the prior sales information. So you'll notice that we have some properties with prior sales. We're looking at 3 years on the subject, 1 year on each of the comps. And again, you have an opportunity to review all of that information for each one of those comps. If there was something maybe that was incorrect, maybe we flagged the wrong property as the wrong history record as the prior, you can override that. Add any comments that you'd like into your comparables. Any additional comments that you'd like to add. So if you wanted to just put a narrative about the market or anything of that sort. Property photos. So again, these are the photos that I've selected. I chose one of the earlier photos, if you may remember, from the listing as my primary photo, as my thumbnail. Prior to it was showing me that it was the back deck. But you'll also notice over here, we've also labeled all of the photos. So we've got an image recognition capability built into the application. So we go and label all the photos as best as we can. Nothing's perfect. Sometimes a bedroom looks like a living room and vice versa, but it's going to be pretty accurate when it comes to the front of the home, kitchens, bathrooms, and also in most cases backyards, especially if there's a pool or something like that. So you again would have the option of making sure if you uploaded any photos, let's say this is the photo you wanted as your thumbnail, you'd be able to select it from here, and that's what's going to go into your Appraise It Pro report. Now I've done all of my work At this point, I've got a number of different options. First, I'm going to save all the work that I've done this far. There's a couple of different options for exporting the data. There's one that you can actually export a PDF. So if you wanted to have an archived or artifact of the work, there's an option here. So you could take this and put it into your work file. So if I click on this, I say I want to download the PDF, what that's going to do is it's going to download a report that looks like this. So that report would have all of the work that we had just done. Everything, all the changes, anything that I may have updated would all be in here. So here's my appraisal report. I had done this one earlier, so you'll notice that the value's a little bit different. But you'll see that everything that was there in the workflow is now in the PDF. And you could save this, or in some cases, I know that some people will include it as an attachment to the appraisal. So this way they can show the work that was done. And here's all the details, the listing sheet for each of the comps. And then there's an option that you can actually export a list of all of the available comps, the total list of 233 comps. You could also export it all as a CSV file. So this way you have the raw data that made up that, that report, and the raw data would include links to the images. So if you needed to go and review any of the images for the photo, for the properties that you didn't select, that data is all there. This is the report that just bring that in just so you can see it. I don't know where it went. In any case, hopefully you get the idea. And then there's an XML option. We do have some customers that have the ability to ingest XML and put it right into their own pre-built applications. The main thing that you want to do here is at this point, click on Export to SFREP. Select Include All Data. And then, of course, this is going to give you an option of choosing the photos that you want to go into the application or into the report. So let's just add a few more photos in here. I want to get a couple of the backyard. And deck. And click on Transfer. And what that'll do now is it'll load all of the data that I just transferred into the report. So you'll notice that now, even though George Costanza is borrowing money, the owner of the property is Scott and Deborah Benedon. The county is Monmouth. The assessor, parcel number, tax year, the latest taxes. Now, if you have information on the most recent taxes and you have the ability to import, of course, the current taxes on the property for 2022, you can make your changes just like you normally would in this report. And also, if I had added any additional details on the neighborhood boundaries, that would all be in here. So we go and we check off as many of the boxes as we can. We bring in all of that data that I showed you, as well as the comps. So each of those comps would be in here. Let's see, there's 3 through 6, 7 through 9. And of course, the images. And SFREP does an excellent job of translating all this data that we're bringing back into Appraise-It Pro. We have integrations with other form providers, but SFREP does by far the best job of translating that data. So I'll just give you that, that tidbit of information.
I'll make sure to tell Tyler, our programmer, that you said that.
By all means. So let's see what we got here. So Sketch, we also have the ability to allow you to import a sketch of your own to bring in. But I know that Appraiser Pro has a sketching tool, so you're probably going to want to continue to use all of that directly from Appraiser Pro. So here's some of the photos that I've brought in, and then some of the general photos.
I love that bathroom.
Yeah, I like this. I like that.
Yeah.
This is actually my son's friend's house, so I've never been in there, but he says it's beautiful. So the market conditions addendum, so the 1004 MC, we bring that in as well. I did not show you on the results page, but that information's in there. We also do a summary of that market conditions addendum. So we bring that information in here. This is all coming from our application, but I do believe that Appraiser Pro does a translation of that data as well. And here's those charts. And again, this is all Appraiser Pro is doing. And yes, tell Tyler, great job on this. So all that data that was in those charts and graphs is brought into the application for you, just as an additional feature that's coming from us. Now, of course, you're going to have to go in and do the work to get it all cleaned up and make sure that everything's working as it should. But our job is to provide you with as much information, as much data in as short a period of time for you to be able to run your report. You'll notice here, so we're sitting here, we're talking, it's now 1:47, and I did a lot of talking, a lot of stopping and going, and in all, maybe it took a half hour for me to get from the start to here. And in most cases, an appraiser that knows what they're doing, and God knows I don't when it comes to appraisals, not like you guys, you probably can get from our application, selecting your comps back in here, probably within 20 minutes, if not less. That's one of the tremendous benefits of having all of that data in one place. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And hopefully you find Profit to be a useful tool for your appraisal and valuation needs. So Matt, I'll turn it back over to you to see if there's any questions.
I really appreciate it, Daniel. Daniel. I want to call you Danny, but I know you professionally probably go by Daniel.
I go by anything they want to call me.
There you go. We have a couple questions. First of all, Brian asks, how good is the data in non-disclosure states?
The data is going to be, that's a great question because we get that a lot. The public record data obviously is not going to have listing, well, it'll have list price on the MLS, but we won't have sold price in most cases in the public record side. However, there is an assumption that is often derived from the last list price and the mortgage amount. And then we're able to come up with essentially an assumption if it was an 80-20, 20% down, or maybe somebody put 10% down or 5% down, and we can come up with an assumption. But when you're dealing in a market like Texas, in most cases, the sale price is coming through the MLS data. Now, I can't guarantee that it's always there on historical stuff because, as I mentioned, the MLSs a lot of times will come back to the vendors and say, okay, now it's time to purge, certain pieces of information, and we have to adhere to that. But if it's a more recent sale, in most cases, the MLS data will provide the sold price on the property. But you'll always have the most recent list price. And, again, that might be the best you could do in certain markets. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. And for those of you who are with us right now live, you can still click on the little chat bubble icon. that is in the GoToMeeting interface and ask us some questions. We'll be happy to answer them for you. If you are watching this later, a recording of this on YouTube or on Facebook, then you can just simply email training@sfrep.com and we'll get an answer to your question to you. Ronald asks, can you go back more than 1 year for the comp's prior transfers?
Oh yeah. Well, when you're running a search in the application, it defaults to 12 months because that's what you're typically going to search for. But you can go back as far as you'd like. Depending on the MLS, we might have 10, in some cases even 20 plus years of history. So you can go back pretty far. Or if you were looking to do something retroactive because you had you needed to do an adjustment or something like that, and you needed to look for a time frame from, let's say, 6 months back and then 12 months prior to that, yes, you can do that. And you may have also noticed that we do have the listing history within each one of those comps. So even if you're getting something more recent, the history will still be available in each of the comps.
Okay, and Ronald also asks, can you still use your temp file to start the report and use Profet.ai? I think Ronald may want to be a little bit more clear on that. If you're asking, can you use a template, which I think is what you're asking, then absolutely yes. You can start a report in any way you want and begin using Profet.ai. And I do want everyone to remember, if you are using Appraise It Pro, no matter if you are brand new to Appraise It Pro this month or if you've been using Appraise It Pro for the last 6 months, all of you have 5 free lookups that are on your account right now. So as soon as we get off of this webinar, you can load up Appraise It Pro and try out Profet.ai on your next appraisal report. If you do like it, what you can do is then contact our sales department. Most of you probably already have the number, but it's 800-523-0872. Or you can just email sales@sfrep.com and they can give you all the information and details on ordering Profit.ai lookups. So we sell them just like we would, we sell them in the same way that we sell like flood maps. So you can sell them in packs. The more that you buy, the cheaper it is, etc. So if none of you have any other questions, we are going to go ahead and call it there. Once again, if you're just shy or if you come up with a question later on, then feel free to email me directly, training@sfrep.com. And you can also contact our tech support if you have any questions or problems, and they'll be able to help you out. Danny, I really appreciate you coming in with us this afternoon and showing us the product. And we really, really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Hopefully it was informative. And, as Matt mentioned early on, you could always also go to Profet, Profet.ai for more information on how to use Profet. Now, keeping in mind that there are certain features that are available outside of Appraise It Pro, but to get the full benefit of the tools within Appraise It Pro, you would go to the Services tab and then choose Profit once you've started an order or started a report. And the report, of course, for us, we're agnostic. The data that comes out will go into any one of the Appraise It Pro reports. So if you're using a 1004 or 1025 or whatever, our data is just going to be translated and brought into that report. So it really shouldn't matter. Again, if you have any questions on how to use it, there's also videos in our learning center. So it'll kind of walk you through some of the basics. So there's no reason to waste those free reports that you have available within Appraise It Pro if you just want to get familiar with Profit and how to use it once you're ready. So hopefully it was educational, hopefully it was helpful, and I look forward to the next time, Matt.
Absolutely. And once again, The web address is Profet.ai. Some of you who are not as internet savvy, that may look like a weird address. It's not a .com. It's just a like kind of vanity address. So all you have to do is just type in profet.ai into your web browser. It'll take you right there. And go ahead.
No.
Oh,
I was.
okay.
I said, yep.
Yep. And also, if you want to watch this particular webinar over again, you will be able to find it later on today over at our YouTube page. And simply just go to YouTube and search for SFREP, or you can go directly there by going to youtube.com/SFREP. That's where we post all of our how-to videos, all of our promo videos. Everything is there on our YouTube site. Thanks a lot, Danny. Thank you to everyone who showed up, and we hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you have any other questions, training@sfrep.com. Thanks a lot. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.